So here we have Anthony Hopkins, who's basically getting his shot today. And of course, this is typically the narrative of what's going on. You're seeing a lot of these celebrities or people in high positions that are, showcasing themselves getting their injection. And I want you guys to take a watch. You can see here the nurse over here, or whoever it is, maybe it's a tech that is administering the shot. You can see him right here, Anthony Hopkins, going through the motions, got his N95 on. And we're gonna see. Did you see that right there? And they're gonna role play it nice and slow motion. And I don't understand why people do this, as you can see. And then she empties the syringe, right? And there's the medication right there. And so it's probably it's a small needle like this. So this is basically a flush. Sometimes I forget, and I have them in my pocket, and I forget to empty my pockets, and I come home and I end up with a stash. And so when you draw up a medication, for example, right? So let's say if you're drawing up whatever it is that you're drawing up, you'd hold the vial, right? And then you would pull the plunger back to the little black area. It's got a little line here, and that basically is for you to eyeball where the medication is. So you would never overfill a syringe and then give a person like only half of the syringe, because you may inadvertently give the wrong amount. And of course, part of the 5 or 6 rights, however they do it, is that it should be the right amount of medication. And so when you could see her basically squeeze out the rest of the medication that is in the syringe, of course, that is not how you administer a vaccine. But this is what we see, individuals kind of going through the motion, and then she's like, "Hey, can I put a sticker on there for you? Can I put a Band-Aid on there?" And she's like, "Oh, and don't leave. I've got to give you your Vax card." So we can go ahead and watch that again. Boom. There goes the medication being poured out of the syringe, right? You can see it right there. And it's not a lot. It's not a lot of medication. So it kind of looks like it looks like it's a lot, but it's not. It's only, I think, about half an ml or so, or maybe an ml depending upon the amount. But it should be about half an ml that they're administering. And so this is basically what is going on. You have a lot of people that are just going through the motions. Typically, it's more of the individuals who are on the more elite side that are pretending to get their vax. I mean, this could just be them going through the motions. Of course, they want a virtue signal on TV, but they're not really looking to get that stuff, right? They're not really looking to get the medication. And I'm sure, somebody will release a statement that, the nurse made a mistake, she injected it incorrectly, whatever. And of course, it wasn't his fault. But there's a lot of information. I mean, shoot, it's like, what's the point of going through the motions, right? I mean, if you want to go through the motions, just give the person saline. It's not that difficult. I mean, these come pre-filled. Just go out there and just, fill up half an ml, put a little needle on there, and then just give them saline. That's like, what's the point of just basically getting exposed doing this? But of course, God is always watching. And so this is what we see. When these people imagine that they're being slick, God is always there to expose them so that you can see that all this has nothing to do with getting a shot, has nothing to do with a disease. There's more coming forward. Now you're seeing more countries being more authoritarian than others, and it's typically because most of the inhabitants do not have weapons like they do here in America. And so in America, they can't just use physical violence like they're doing in places like in Canada, where the police are basically just have a really tight grip on the people. Very similar in Germany or in other places in the EU or in the UK, where we're seeing a little bit more of a tighter grip via the police force. And this is why I typically say the police are never the ones who are on your side. They do not serve and protect you. They serve and protect the state and politicians, which is why I am in favor for defunding the police in every single state within the country and having individuals learn to be, 1, accountable, and 2, responsible for their own safety, which is why we have here in America, we have the Second Amendment. And so for more people who are willing to make use of that, and of course, in certain neighborhoods, it might be more difficult than in others, but that typically is a problem related to a lack of accountability within certain minority groups. And so it is kind of what it is. But overwhelmingly, most people would be a lot more civil with one another if they realized that the other person on the other end of the interaction had the ability to take their life at any point in given time. And so it kind of creates a mutual, sort of mutual destruction, kind of like what we see right now, right? We don't see the type of wars that we used to have back in the days where tens of millions of people will lose their lives. We have much more of that understanding that we can mutually destroy each other And so we pursue peace as much as possible. Now, there may be some other forms of foolery going on with either it's like cyber warfare or biological warfare, etc. Um, but for the most part, there is a measure of civility that goes on between nations. And so that same principle should be practiced within smaller communities where individuals have both the right and the ability to protect themselves, literally in the form of it, if it comes, life for life. If the person had to take the life of another individual, of course, there could be those who do the investigation to make sure that everything was on the up and up. But for the most part, I am 100% in favor of defunding the police. You'll see moving forward in many different places, overwhelmingly, the police will be the ones who were there to enforce a lot of these laws that will take away your rights related to whether or not you went through the motion and got yourself a shot. Now, some of these individuals are going to pretend that they got it and they're going to go get their card so they can go about their life, not risking themselves because they know, realistically speaking, they're not at risk. Maybe he is because he's an older gentleman. He might have a history. He might have a medical history. But for the most part, most young people really don't have too much to worry in the way of losing their lives, statistically speaking. I really hate to see this, and I hope more people wake up to what's going on, especially in light of the times. Pay attention to what is going on in other countries, because eventually it will be here as well.